It is now my great honor to introduce Tim Shriver, who really needs no introduction to this audience. Tim has served as the chairman of the board for Special Olympics for nearly 3 decades, and he holds numerous degrees and awards relating to his work in education and humanitarian causes. He is widely heralded as a champion of inclusion and mutual respect for all. We are so glad to have him with us today. Please join me in a hearty LETR welcome for Tim Shriver.
1,500 athletes, 1,000 coaches, 2,000 volunteers, and 3,000 family members, all coming right here together, ready to give everything we've got. Let me hear you, Turin! Are you ready to give your all and light up these games with your energy? Because this is exactly what Special Olympics is all about. Giving our best, being our best. Athletes, this is your moment to dream big and let your determination lead you to success. Coaches, this is your moment to push yourself and your athletes to be their best. Volunteers, this is your moment to fall in love with Special Olympics and create a new lifelong passion. Our dearest family members, this is your moment to be proud for how far we have all come. When we stand together, we never give up. Accept us, support us, give us opportunity. Let us inspire you. It is by making our voices heard that we will shape a more inclusive future. It is through our unity that we will go stronger and face every challenge hand in hand. The legacy of these games is what we do with the experience after we go home. We will not leave these competitions just as athletes, but as champions, ready for the next challenge. The future isn't just ahead of us. The future is inclusion, and the future is here.
Bravo. Well, listen, thank you. That's Gilmore Borg at the opening ceremonies of the World Winter Games, and I'm grateful. I followed Gilmore at the opening ceremonies, and I didn't get included in the video, and I'm not going to be remembered now after Gilmore's speech either. But I'm so grateful to be here. Abby, thank you for your beautiful introduction. Bill, thank you for welcoming us on behalf of Special Olympics Minnesota. Matt, Sheriff Dewana Witt. I hadn't thought of this, but she sort of suggested a new movement, inspired to swear. Like that's what her, I think there's maybe a whole torch run movement around inspired to swear in the future. I want to join all of you. There's so many people to thank, but I'm going to take the time to do it because our movement is grateful for the numbers. It's grateful, for all the accumulated power that those numbers mean, but we're also grateful to people, to John Clifton, who's here and leading us, of course. I want to thank Richard Lemunyon. I mean, he doesn't get enough thanks in our movement, but I know you all know Richard and his wife are both here. We have not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 members of Special Olympics International's Board of Directors. Can I ask Mark McCorkle, your representative, Jenny Fortner, and Loretta Claiborne to stand, please, right here in the front? Yes. I asked Loretta, I said, Loretta, are you giving a keynote speech up in those? She says, oh no, I space my speeches out. I only give them every couple of years. And she's smart to do it, but that's a good draw because next year or the year after, the keynote speaker will be Loretta Claiborne, the Chief Inspiration Officer of this movement. I want to thank everyone who's participated in planning all this. Joe Carlone has been the chairing the planning committee. Yes, Brianna Breach has been on it. You've already met Matt, who's been such a Kian Corky, who is the lead for Special Olympics Minnesota on the LETR. We have a lot of folks from SOI here. I don't think I know, I've got a list here, but I know Brandon Fitzgerald's here, Zara Saheen, Greg Epperson, Nathan Cook. I saw Sean Byrne, I saw Amy Wise, Kate Dart. But I'd love to have you just know who the SOI team is here. So could I ask them all, Chris Benz, to stand, please? And just so you know that your colleagues, special thanks. We talked, John and I talked earlier this morning about the concept that we've often labored with, which is SOI is here, or Special Olympics Minnesota is there, or all of our different states are here. I just want us to take a moment to recognize we are one team with one mission here. We may have separate lines of reporting, but we don't have separation in the mission. Everyone in here is involved in the same mission, so I want to thank the representatives for all the different organizations for being here. And we got to also recognize, as far as I can tell, we've got Canadians and Caribbeans and Australians and New Zealanders and Chinese Taipei and Netherlands. Let's have all of our international representatives stand up. South Africa, Cote d'Ivoire, where are you? Yeah, oh yeah. The torch run is growing. You know, we think we're big, $70 million, $71 million in 1 year, an extraordinary number, unthinkable even a few years ago. But just think, if this room were 4 or 5 times the size and there were 500 people from Latin America, another 700 from Africa, maybe 1,000 officers from the Asia-Pacific region, from Europe, from Central America, I mean, they're going to look back on us and say that's when the torch run was young. You know, that's when they were just getting started. And even though we've come a long way, we have so much farther to go, and I want to thank the international representatives for making it. And finally, I want to thank our sponsors. Coca-Cola is our titanium sponsor, has been a sponsor of this movement since the very first event. So I don't know if we have anyone from Coke here, but they've been with us through everything, and I want to thank them. Some of you have met all the others. Peregrine, I'm going to say a little bit more about Peregrine in a minute. Will, Customized Products, the MVP Index, and we have new folks joining us, DNA Athletics, the Federal Law Enforcement Officer Association, the Fraternal Order of Police is here, Mobile Pro Systems are here, the National Association of School Resource Officers, a whole new audience, all here. Give it up for them. Give it up for Victoria Arlen, representing ESPN, who's here, going to make us look good. Thank you to all of you. So I was given 10 minutes. I just took 8, so I'm going to go fast. Let's go back. We don't want that. Let me start with a few reflections on the word hope. We hear a lot about Guardians of the Flame, Torch Run. The tail end of the flame, from our beginning, has been known as the flame of hope. And hope is an important word in the lexicon of the Special Olympics movement. Because hope often is confused with something having to do with the future. But you don't just carry a flame for the future, you carry a flame for the present. The flame of hope, as it appears, reminds people not of what will happen sometime later, but what we have right now. The present moment that you've heard described already today, when eyes meet, when the flame passes by, when a salute is given, when an athlete offers a hug, when a heroic effort is made, there is birthed the gift of hope. It is that gift in the moment that allows us to be optimistic about the future. It is the gift of the presence that we have here today that gives us the sense in which something better can happen. But hope, the flame of hope, when you carry it, when you hold it, when you guard it, you are guarding the most precious gift of the heart now. In our movement, it couldn't be more important. And I dare say today, in this country, and I dare say around the world, some people will say we're starving. Not just exhausted, not just stressed out, but starving for what? For hope. So in the face of all of the conflicts, in the face of all the challenges in our personal lives, in our communities, in our states, in our municipalities, in our country, You stand here not just representing something great for our movement, but something great for the country and the world in which you live in. Hope is an important word. It's not always easy. Let me tell you a quick story. Now you can look at this goofy picture. I was having my picture taken at a coffee shop for a podcast, which I'm not promoting today, but I just want you to see the picture because at the end of when the thing was over, I got up and a guy came into the coffee shop with a big cowboy hat on and cowboy boots and blue jeans, and he looked over at me, and I'm not going to say which state he was from, but it's represented here. And he says, anyone ever tell you, you look like a Kennedy? And I said, yeah, I heard that before. And he said, that must really piss you off, eh? You're not supposed to laugh that much. To me, at least, it's an important story in one respect. Nothing to do with me, but having to do with how often we judge each other and how quickly we judge and how we look across the room, even across our own kitchen tables, and make a decision. Oh, she's this or he's that. Or, oh, she can do this or he can't do that. Or, oh, he's mad about this. Or, oh, she's irritated or going to come after me about that. How often we snap to judgment. And this movement, if it is anything, its roots are in shaking us out of our desire and our propensity to make judgments that are wrong about each other. The Flame of Hope starts in a very simple way. There's my mom in 1962 in a pool in suburban Washington, D.C., welcoming a child from an institution who had nowhere to go. Who had nowhere to go for summer camp, nowhere to go to learn how to swim, nowhere to go to run a race, nowhere to go to join a kickball team, nowhere to go to ride a pony, nowhere to go to an arts and crafts. No one would take him. Why? Because they had the judgment wrong. They saw a label, the label led to a stigma, the stigma led to exclusion, and exclusion led, I dare say, to almost violence against people. And one person says, I'm not going to allow that to happen anymore. You bring that child to my house, my mom said, and I'll teach that child to swim. So we stand not in the tradition necessarily of just her contribution, but her contribution is the same as every one of yours because someone watches you when you carry that flame. Someone watches you when you get up in front of a staff meeting and say, I'm asking people to volunteer for Special Olympics, just like people watched her. And when someone watches you, they learn from you that, yes, hope is possible. I can see differently. We can change the world. We can rebirth the idea that everybody has a gift. Now, my family hasn't gone far from the pool. Here's my son, a super plunger. My son, Tim Shriver. Where are you? Timbo. Stand up. Stand up. There's my son. He talks a lot about his grandmother getting in the pool, but I just want you to know that psycho son of mine did the super plunge last year. And I know, I don't know, Abby talked about loving the polar plunge. I mean, not me. I think I did my first plunge the year he was born, and that wasn't my last plunge, but I haven't done that many since. But I want to thank him, and I want to thank all of you for welcoming us. And what I hope you see is what I feel, which is that my mom, myself, my wife, all of our kids, my sister, my brothers, my nieces, my nephews, we all feel like we're in this family together. And I hope you can sense that in us, because I hope you bring your own families to this work. I hope you bring your partners, your spouses, your children, your grandchildren, your parents. Bring them out. Ask them to come cheer for just an hour. There's no one who's been asked to give their lives to Special Olympics. Everyone in this room, I dare say, was probably asked to give an hour. And here you are, right? Ask them to come out because we want your families. We want this to be a family. Because when we extend the power of those plunges, of those actions, of those moments when you carry that hope, you get a movement that looks like this. You get a movement of almost 5 million athletes. Look at the number there. Look at the number of events. 59,000 competitions every year. So someone says to you, hey, officer, when is the next Special Olympics? Tell them in 14 minutes. Where is that one? I don't know, because the world is so full of goodwill we can't keep track. Yes, that's right. The world is so full of goodwill we can't keep track. When was the last time you heard that message? You will hear it here. People are so committed to doing things for each other that all we have to do is ask. All we have to do is ask. Nonetheless, you all know this, and I'm not going to dwell on this, but we're in a tough time. America. We're in a tough time, Australia. We're in a tough time, New Zealand, South Africa. We've got contempt all around us. And people in this room have been victims of unfair and judgmental contempt for far too long. And we've normalized it. You see this every day in your line of work. The normalization of hatred and dehumanization and contempt that's costing us our country. 100 million of us have lost a relationship within our own families and friends because of polarization, because of judgment, because of, hey, I know what kind of person you are. You voted for such and such. I know what you believe. You don't believe this. I know what kind of person you are. I'm not having you come to Thanksgiving this year. Not you. No, I can't stand the way she talks. It's killing us. But I just want to give you one glimpse of a moment that inspired me. This is Desmond Tutu, who is the Archbishop of South Africa. I think we have South Africans here, right? And he was asked, I was in an event about this size, and there was a question and answer period. He was asked at the end of, this is a guy who's led the anti-apartheid, led peace and truth and reconciliation and healing in his country across race, across cultures, and so on. And the guy gets up in the back and says, Archbishop, you're saying all these things. Don't you have to admit that evil is more powerful than good? And he had a beautiful kind of lilting smile, and he kind of snickered to himself, and he said, no, he said, evil is not more powerful than good, he said, but it is better organized. Look to your right and look to your left. You see in this room the organization of good. You see in this room the force field that allows us to believe that hope is more powerful than despair, that openness is more powerful than judgment, that good is more powerful than evil. But it's not going to win without us being organized. We have a counter to contempt, and it is the idea of being an includer. It is the idea of a torch run that celebrates hope in a world that is more unified. It is the concept that we learn, not that we don't teach our athletes, but that we learn from our athletes. Who have you met who is more open, who is more willing to try again, who is more gritty, who is tougher when it comes to sustaining the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune? Who have you met that's better at doing inclusion than our athletes? We don't have just a message for the Special Olympics movement in here. We have a message for the world. I'm going to skip this and go to this final story. My hope is, gang, that when you think of this movement, when you think of a billion, and I love the fact that we have the number down to 47, like the last two digits in the billion one were 47. I was looking around thinking, like, who gave that 47? Whoever it is, thank you. As it would have been 2 zeros there if it hadn't been for your 47. This is a picture of Donald Page. Because money means nothing without the moments. And what I'm hoping you will get from this conference and from your work with us is the capacity to hold in your hearts and in your minds the moments. Yes, Chief LeMunyon will tell us, and John will tell us, we got to compete. North Carolina, you got to beat Maryland. Maryland, you got to beat Minnesota. We got to raise more money, and we do. But we have to raise more money because we need more moments. Because we need more organized goodness in the world. So I encourage you, either during the conference or after it, or something maybe from your distant memory. Chief LeMunyon shared earlier about his moment. This was one of mine. Donald Page comes to the 2003 opening ceremonies in Dublin. And then he stays on to compete in the Motor Activities program. The Motor Activities is the program for our athletes who have the biggest challenge, who face the toughest odds, who overcome the hardest obstacles. Donald almost died 2 or 3 times when he was just 18 months, and then 20 months, and then 24 months. His dad is a dairy farmer in the west of Ireland, but he made it. But he would never again talk. He would never again be able to take care of himself or walk. But he was invited to come to Dublin, Ireland, to do his event, the Beanbag Lift. And I got the honor of hosting the president of Ireland. This was on day 2 or 3 of the games. She said, her staff told me she wants to go to see the motor activities. And I thought to myself, well, doesn't she want to see the 100-meter? We have athletes running, or we have marathoners like Loretta. No, the president wants to go to motor activities. We go to a venue about half the size of this room. And to my great surprise, it was full. There were 1,000 people there to watch athletes do their motor activities. And Donald was the first one, and I was sitting just here where Jenny is, and he's wheeled out on a stage just like this in his wheelchair, and there's a tray in front of him, and the beanbag is placed on the right side of the tray, and his coach steps back from the wheelchair, and the announcer says, okay, you can begin. And Donald's job was to pick up the beanbag and move it to the other side of the tray. And we're all sitting there, and there's 1,000 of us watching him, and he sort of took the room in and looked around, and then you could see that he was having a hard time. And the room gets kind of quiet, and his shoulder isn't really moving. And he's trying to get that hand up to the bag, and it won't go. And all of a sudden, the room just gets silent. And you have 1,000 people quiet with one young man, 18 years old, sitting in front of them, unable to complete his task. And everybody stayed there. I talked to his dad later, and I'll tell you what his dad said, but everyone just sort of stayed in the moment, but we were all terrified. I mean, I was. I wanted to end it. I just didn't want him to feel that humiliation or the embarrassment. Anyway. At the 3rd minute, Donald Page's hand finally flops on to that beanbag. And you can see him just be able to get his hand around it. Gang, over the next 7 or 8 minutes, that bag moves halfway across the tray. And now, there's 1,000 people starting to cheer. And at the 18th minute, he puts the bag down. And the place is, it's like the Final Four in there. The whole place is, cheering. I'm standing, the president is standing next to me, tears are streaming down her face. Tears are streaming down my face. I knew I had never seen an athletic performance like that. Never in my life. When I talked to Donald's dad, he said, they just gave him time. That's all he ever asked for, just a bit of time. I knew he could do it. But here's what I want you to remember. Late that night, Donald Page got in a bus to go home to Portumna, and he and his teammates returned back. They were accompanied the whole way across the country by a police escort. The National Force, the Gardaí, escorted him and his teammates 4 hours from one end of the country to the next. The flashing lights, this is his dad talking, of the motorcycle officers signaled to everyone in the country that there were celebrities on board. They cleared traffic, people stood by, they let them pass. And they finally arrived home in Portumna late at night. And there was the final surprise. The town square was full. News had spread of the great achievements of Donal and his teammates in Dublin. Donal was lowered off the bus with his medal around his neck, and the square was filled with cheers and the lights were flashing. His dad said, "That's a day we'll never forget." There was Donal in the middle of the town and the lights flashing, I'll try my Irish accent, and him and his medal, and everyone congratulating him and telling him, "Well done." And Mary and me, well, that's his wife, we felt a light in our son that we'd never felt before. He's a good lad, and we always knew it. But there he was, and this was his day, and God, he was glorious. Now, I know there's a lot of cynicism in the world, and I know there's a lot of skepticism in a room, and I know there's a lot of realism. Life is not easy. It's tough on all of us. But in this room, we raise money to create moments that translate into goodness. The world is hungry for it. I thank you for being it, and I invite you to continue to build the flame of hope and to let it shine for the world. Thank you very much.